BMW Real Estate LLC, proper revision request. Director of Planning and Zoning, Jeremy.
Take time down, Jeremy.
You want me to do it, Tom?
I have the handouts, okay, that's it.
Losing my vision, what?
Sure. John's next. Lucky.
Every kid's not at home.
Yeah, on
Well, it's not connecting, but unfortunately I brought handouts. Go ahead and
I knew that wasn't
do
long.
it the old-fashioned way.
Pen and paper, best way sometimes.
So, this particular application was submitted by BMW Real Estate. The handout you have is just kind of a quick, here we go. Just a quick overview of where the property is, what the proposed changes are, and there's also the more detailed staff report that's in there following that. But to begin, the applicant was good this evening as well. They wanted to amend the proffers that were done from a rezoning several many years ago, citing that they haven't been able to sell the property because there's so many restrictions of uses within the property document itself. So if you review the current proffers, I think you can see that in the long paragraph of what's restricted. And it's also broken down into a table format in the staff report as far as what was allowed then and what's being proposed, as well as in this presentation. So the particular property is next to Holly Hill on John Marshall Highway, in between that and the UPS site. It's a vacant commercial property that's zoned C1. There's an illustration of it in your handout and on the screen above you. And here's just a street view of what if you go down the street on a really nice day. You would see. It's slightly elevated to the top. There's a row of trees in the back. Go back to the aerial. You can see where there's existing residential property that backs up to on that particular section of Richmond Road. So this is just a kind of simplest kind of breakdown as far as what is changing as far as the uses. The new uses that the applicant is requesting to be allowed includes appliance stores, barber and beauty shops, hardware, laundromats, retail stores that aren't restricted in hours, radio and TV, broadcasting stations, restaurants over 2,000 square feet. Currently, it does allow 2,000 square feet or less. Churches, public utilities, last two are only allowed with a special use permit. lodging homes, and no more than 2 apartments, or more than 2 apartments. And then the new uses that are actually restricted, and these were added by the Planning Commission, I might add, and agreed upon by the applicant. Machinery sales and service, commercial parking lots, distribution facilities, wholesale establishments, and outdoor amplified sound. So the Planning Commission had concern about these because of the proximity to the residential uses in the rear.
What's it mean by outdoor amplified sound? Just loud noises?
Activities, events kind of outside, any type of loud noises outside generated by the use.
And wouldn't the stores, if it was retail stores, wouldn't they need parking? But are you talking about just specifically just a designated commercial parking lot?
Oh yeah, so this would be like, it's just a parking lot, and they're using it for storage of cars or leasing out cars. But parking lots would still be allowed as ancillary use to the primary use. So if you had a retail store, you could have parking, obviously, or any other type of use, but you couldn't just have parking.
So you couldn't buy the land and turn it into a parking lot.
Right.
Looking at those uses up there though, that's gonna be a high volume of parking. Do they have the capability or land?
Yes, it is a fairly large site, so there shouldn't be a problem in them laying out the required amount of parking.
If they're adding more asphalt, is that gonna create a settling pond of sort for runoff?
They would have, with any site plan, they'd have to create an engineered plan and mitigate stormwater that they create from impervious surfaces, buildings, parking facilities. So all that would have to be engineered.
I reckon the question is, are they prepared for that?
Are they prepared for engineering?
Yeah, the plan and the settling pond and
I think they're just looking to try to market the property. I don't think the current owners are interested in developing the property, so.
So it would be the future developer.
Future developer that would have to do that.
Yeah.
It's really the same as any commercial zone.
Jeremy, there's 2 questions. Number one is, how many of these new ones are not already in the actual C1 district? It is C1, isn't it?
It is C1. So all of those are in the C1 now.
Well, I don't understand that one down there where it says, retail stores with no hour restrictions. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well,
I don't want to see any business go in there that's going to be open 24/7, especially backing up to a residential area.
That's a good point.
that was certainly something we can discuss with the applicant. It was talked about a little bit with the planning commission, and they did actually continue the hour restrictions on the restaurant use, but they didn't recommend that on the retail uses, although it was discussed.
Well, it depends on the retail store. I mean, when you say retail, that's a very broad perspective of whatever. And I can see that could be an issue in certain things of retail. I'm not sure I'd be interested in that particular portion of it.
Jeremy, I guess these are the new uses that are allowed, but at some point, new perspective come along and wants to put in a 24-hour laundromat, it would come before council? Or would it be allowed to open?
That would be allowed.
It would be allowed?
That would be allowed under the C1 district as well.
So how are we gonna?
It's not restricted.
How are we gonna answer Mr. T. Walt's question or his concern of 24 hour next to a residential?
that's a great question too.
Well, consensus
That's a
of
question.
council, we can talk with the applicant maybe about amending it,
C1 property
to restrict those hours.
doesn't restrict it now, does it?
No,
Oh, but then that's already C1 property
it's subdivided.
into. So
It
you're saying
used to
part
be-
is and part
used to be
isn't?
one parcel
Hmm.
back in the day when Mr. Stokes used to own it as residence in a commercial area. And a group purchased it, turned it into offices, which they close at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock.
Right, but which piece we're talking about?
It's the far left vacant.
Parcel.
But that is a C1 property now.
That is a C1 property, and that
So
would be
why-
allowed to be.
Yeah, right.
24,
So why are we looking at restricting that even more?
Because it would allow 24-hour laundromat for, say, a grocery store.
Well, I'm like Jake, I'm kind of confused. If these things are already allowed in C1, why would we be bigging them up at all?
Well, because his current proffers restrict everything that's listed in there, so, and this is a summary of what's changed.
Well, I don't remember what
So-
it came, I wasn't on council, don't ever remember, but, so the old proffers restricted these ones on the left. Is that what
Yes,
you're saying?
and some more.
Okay, and
So
some
if you-
others.
If you look at it, there's a laundry list of what's not allowed. When you get to the end, you sort of conclude, well, what is allowed here? And really, just offices, maybe a couple other uses are allowed.
So everyone on the left side is already
Restricted.
a use, it is already a use in a normal C1
Yes.
district, regardless,
Correct.
which would include that bottom one, which would mean clubs and boarding houses and,
Those, yeah, both those are allowed with special use permits, so they're not a by right use, but as drafted by the applicant, and recommended by the planning commission, it does have those two in there, so they could apply for a special use permit. If it wasn't on there, if it was still restricted, then you couldn't even apply.
I guess the bottom line, Gene, they're trying to get rid of some of the restrictions.
well, I
To
understand.
bring back
I didn't know
value
it,
of
I didn't
the
know
land.
that was against
Yeah,
the proffers before. That's
well,
why
that's
I'm
what they
asking.
had to proffer in order for the council to, I think, Jeremy, if I'm correct, past council demanded that all these restrictions be attached to that property before it was sold to the group. I think, is that pretty accurate? Okay.
And there's a few other changes. So there were several things removed from the proffers which are irrelevant now. That's because we've adopted new town codes, and so those are already addressed in those requirements. So, you know, it's unnecessary to say that dark sky lighting is required when it's required in the code. So that's one example, and there's a few others. But, and then another example is there was a buffering requirement along the road, and the current code requires more than what was proffered. So those items are just removed. And then also the proffers required a dedication of land. That's already happened, so that was removed. That was for the trail that's out on Marshall Highway. And they also required a bond for, because at the time they were thinking that, you know, the curb and gutter work was going to be done by the town, so they were required to post a bond, but that's already happened. The curb and gutter has already been installed, so that's not necessary.
Jeremy, the trail, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the sidewalk that runs down in front.
Yes, yeah, I call it a
Jamestown.
trail, but.
That's fine, yeah,
all
only some people would
sidewalks.
refer to it as a sidewalk, I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that it's already been installed.
And the last thing is the building materials required for whatever new construction occurred. So as drafted, it has to be masonry, brick, or stone. And the applicant was interested in possibly using synthetic stucco, which is commonly used for commercial buildings. And so language was put in there that they could use that as long as the, you know, when they submit the site plan and the details, it was determined by the planning commission really to conform with similar appearance to what Holly Hill looks like.
Did the planning commission recommend council approval, or they haven't got to that part yet?
They went through a couple changes with the applicant, and the version you have in your packets is what the planning commission did recommend approval of.
Okay. Any other members of council?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Jeremy, will these changes to the proffer agreement increase the property value?
It's hard to
Theoretically.
quantify that, but it makes it more marketable, so
Right.
I would have to choose yes or no, it's a yes.
And is it substantial or significant?
Well, if you can't sell the property now because it restricts
No, the
practically every
increase.
use, that would be substantial.
I think every single use added would be an increase because you get that levelness.
When we had the public hearing, I should probably also note this, that
There's a
there
reason
were some
for that.
citizens that came out about concern about the trees in the back,
Mhm.
the buffering. And so we talked to them about it and explained, current code requires them to replace all the dead trees and plant new trees when that is developed. So that will be addressed at that time. I just wanted to mention that.
So this is a more restricted C1 property because of the proffers, right?
Correct. It's far
So-
more restricted than most C1 properties.
Right. So making these concessions would still have a more restricted property that allows it to be a little bit more marketable.
And real quick,
Sure.
to conclude, once this decision or vote is made, it no longer comes to council, correct? As
Depends on what,
T-Wall indicated, that once the decision's made to make the modification, right, you can go with the proffer as it stands, and they can build any one of those acceptable.
As long as they met the design requirements in the code.
Right. So that doesn't come across council after today or whenever this is passed, correct?
Correct. It would take 2 readings, and yeah, once that's passed
Yeah.
in the second reading,
Then they can build what they want
then it would be
within the
by right,
confines of.
within the confines of the proffers.
Okay.
Which
as
is
long as
consistent
it
with
met the
C1 property
Yeah, I get
with still restrictions.
No, I get it.
you know, two guys, the integrity of the guys that own the parcel that we're speaking of and the parcel next door, Rose Hill, it has been a great asset for the town. It kept the yards looking good, and everything has been just fine with Rose Hill. And I'm sure they're not going to let something come in beside them that's going to ruin their reputation. And I may be speaking wrongly of Mr. Biggs, but since he's over here, I hope not to. Yeah, these have been really great business people in town, and I think there's 4 of you, Joe.
Yes, Frank Rose, Pete Walker, and Joe
Joe
Green.
Green, yeah.
So
Gary?
the retail hours, is that something that we need to talk
Yeah, I
to
think
Applicant about?
retail hours was, Gene, is that?
Well, you know, again, that, I know Joe and I know the rest of them, but is this a requirement that they brought forward that with no restrictions on retail hours, or is that part of the original? Again, is that C1, is that allowed now to have anything it can operate 24/7?
Under the current C1 requirements, there's no hour restriction.
Nothing, there's no restrictions on any business.
No, so like
I mean, I can see a
7-Eleven,
laundromat being over
they can buy commercial
24/7.
property and stay up open 24 hours. So there's no restriction.
Why would you restrict a business from what hours they can be open?
Well, I wouldn't if it'd be downtown, but this is beside a real estate.
No, for C1 property, like McDonald's downtown.
Well, again, this is adjacent to an R1 district, which is the most highly residential districts. I just want to
There's
make
residents right behind
sure
McDonald's.
that well, they're not in a residence, they're all commercial, everything around McDonald's. But no, that's the only thing I'm questioning. I mean, I don't want to see us get in the same issue we got with other people in that same area. That we get somebody in there that's going to be making noise 24/7 beside another residential area. If it was downtown, that's all commercial, so that's a different story. This is a specific area up there when Mr. Stokes had it, and it was all residential. Now we got a commercial. I just don't want to see us get a possibility of a business in there that's going to be a problem for us or the council later by having something 24/7 that's creating a problem for the residents that owns the land at this time.
Jeremy, do
I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Mr. Concerns?
I do.
Would you get with the applicants and kind of work that out maybe, so we can move forward, so they can move the property or whatever they want to do? Is that good with council, that Jeremy gets with the applicants to figure out the hour?
And just for my curiosity, I would like to know how many behind our commercial properties along Commerce and Royal and everything else along there, how many of them are next to residential home housing?
And that's just a
just curious.
FYI, just curious.
Yeah,
Nothing
because I just
to
want
do
to know
with this, just
if it's
sure.
consistent.
I got you. Okay. Just want to make that clear.
I don't need numbers. If you want to just show me the map, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll bring it.
Huh?
All right, Joe, it seems
That's what I'm
like
saying.
council's gonna let Jeremy speak with the applicants to, the only concern that we have is the residents and the noise that would be created well into the night. And Joe, can you work with Jeremy on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You can do it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll try to get it back. I don't know when you need an answer, but I know you wanted yesterday.
We'll get with, Jeremy.
Just understand, we have concerns with the neighbors behind you, and right now, you've got a great neighbor that they probably don't even know you're there, but possibility of something that would settle in, and you wouldn't have any control, even though someone purchased that property, then they resold it, and someone else put something there that you wouldn't even like, so. We just want to hit off a couple things, so.
Yeah,
Give Mr. T-Walt's concerns
Jeremy's
answered.
been excellent to work with. And Rachel's excellent.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you, Jeremy.